Hi everyone, Shane R. Monroe here. Are you ready to use a mouse on your Commodore 64? I thought you might. Stick around and let's do it together. Hi everyone, Shane R. Monroe here. So I have here this very interesting old compact mouse. Remember compact? That's how old I am. Now this, you're probably looking at this going, okay, Shane, what are we doing here? This is like, that's not even USB. What is that? This is a PS2 mouse, for those of you who are old enough to remember it. Somewhere between the AT and USB came this rather interesting round little guy. So if you're already a Commodore 64 Ultimate owner, you're quite aware that there's absolutely no place to plug this thing in. So of course there's an adapter because, well, there's always an adapter, and here it is. Now, you're probably wondering why I waited so long. I wanted to make sure that the guy had stock because I know how you guys are. You see something on here, you go run out and buy it. That poor guy that makes those beige buttons on the back, I think he's still trying to get caught up. But anyway, so this is a standard 9-pin DIN, right, from the side, port 1, typically speaking, and there is your PS2 plug, right? So it's all pretty simple. You plug this in and then you plug it in. And that's it. Now you'll also notice that there's no cover on here. There's no feed under here. So it's kind of twitchy. And of course, this is something that many of you may not have seen in a really long time. This is a mechanical mouse, meaning it is 100% mechanical. There's a couple of rollers in there. There's not even an LED in here. It's just a couple of rollers, right? And of course, this little rubber ball. That is the mouse. And I'll tell you, this probably isn't my favorite of all mice. Now, he does sell them in a pack, so you can buy the mouse and the adapter. Probably a good idea, since you probably don't have a PS2 mouse laying around. It does the job, but honestly, I would probably have preferred a different mouse. But perhaps that's for another show. So what can you do with the mouse on the Commodore 64? Well, the truth is, not a lot. But those of you who have been waiting patiently for me to show you GEOS on the Commodore 64 Ultimate, I now have a mouse so that I can do it properly. And of course, we'll show you a few other things. Just assume that the mouse is rolling and working over here. Probably try to, let me do this. Let me move it over here. Now, this is something you're probably going to actually want a real mouse pad for. Now, I don't actually have one here, so the roller doesn't work as well on this surface. You're probably going to see that reflected in the video. So understand it's part of the mouse, and it's also part of this, texture that I'm playing with this on. I'm trying to think if I actually still have a mouse pad somewhere, but I don't think I do. I think they're all gone. All right, so what can we do with the mouse? Well, obviously GEOS is the big guy, right? But we're not going to start with GEOS. We are instead going to look at something that comes included on the flash drive that comes with your Commodore 64. And that is in my included cassette collection. And that's something called GUI64. Now, I know several people wrote asking, when you get the mouse, can you show this off? So I'm absolutely going to start with that. GUI64, and I think I'm in NTSC. I don't remember, but I don't think it'll really matter. All right, so here you go. It is basically a UI for your file system. Now, there you go. See, look at that. The mouse actually works pretty good, considering the surface that I'm on and the ball and all that. So you have here like a start button, but you can do settings, and you have a date time, which you can set, right? I wish I could say that that was like the most exciting part. So I can open up the drive 8, which I don't have a drive in, so let's mount one. I don't want to mount the GEOS boot disk. That doesn't sound like it'd be any fun. How about some sort of a game disk? How about, let's see, doesn't have a games, there we go. Perfect, so let's mount that. All right, file not found, well, it will be now. So let's get out of here and go into drive 8. All right, so now you get sort of a UI-driven bit. You can do some disk stuff. You can do some file stuff. So what would this be really good for? Copying a file off of here and putting it on another disk. Otherwise, you could do some basic deleting and renaming. But that's kind of it. even the viewer, I don't think does a whole lot. So the utility of this is more like proving that your mouse works and maybe doing some light file management, but there's far better ways to do file management on the Commodore 64. And oddly enough, the mouse might be the ticket to it. So again, not super excited about the GUI 64. I do not have the 64 OS. That's like 60 bucks, and I probably wouldn't use it. Maybe if I can get the guy that owns it to maybe send me a demo copy, I can show you. But for today, that's not where we're going to go. Now, the next really interesting thing that a lot of people do not think about with regards to the Commodore 64 mouse was the fact that the Final Cartridge, the Action Replay cartridge, is my definitive snapshot cartridge. But a lot of people like the Final Cartridge, and the reason that they did was because it let you use a mouse with it. I kid you not. Check this out. Look at that. So when you had the Final Cartridge plugged in and you turned on the Commodore 64, you would get this. This is what it would boot to. And look at this. Yes. Now, see, this is actually kind of cool. You actually have things like Notepad, some other utilities like a calculator and disk utilities and tape utilities, a clock with an alarm. And now all these tools came with sort of a kind of a bootleg user-enhanced version of Final Cartridge III. This stuff did not come with it originally on the disc, but or on the original cartridge, I should say. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And so you can do, I mean, this is, in my opinion, this is probably better than the other one, right? You got an actual working calculator. So that's kind of cool. So that's yet another use you can do with the mouse. And of course, I mean, what would life be like unless we talked about some games? Now, there's a handful of games I have here to show off. And Marble Madness specifically I want to show off because it really has something cool to do with this mouse and this interface. We're going to save that probably just before GEOS. So let's take a look at, I don't think Arkanoid supported the mouse. Let me do it anyway. I think it was Arkanoid 2 that supported the mouse, but let's find out. Now, we did show Arkanoid with a spinner and with a trackball, and it was actually pretty good. Oh, Commodore mouse, there we go. So you hit the first letter, CBM mouse, and then one player, and then push the fire button. There you go. Okay, here we go. Let's see how we're doing. Well, that's pretty damn responsive. I mean, it's a little skittish from being on the surface here, but wow. Yeah, I could see playing Arkanoid like this. Maybe even better than a paddle, huh? And that works out really well. Fine, let's get a little speed going here. There she is. Yeah, this plays really good, and you could do that kind of, well, oh, no, you can't do those quick things. It's the surface I'm on. Can't really do those quick slides with this thing because of the ball and that. It's going to depend on the mouse that you get, of course. All right. Well, obviously, if Arkanoid did the trick, certainly Arkanoid 2 would work. Am I right? Let's find out. And more unpacking and unpacking and unpacking. Okay. So you'll notice here that both the CBM and the GEOS mouse are compatible here. So we need to hit C to get to the CBM mouse keyboard, etc. So the GEOS mouse was a very niche mouse. Not a lot of people had one, but it did manage to get front and center on a couple of games. And here we go. So you can feel the ball gets stuck on here. That sucks. Again, not more the fault of my setup than anything else. But yeah, look at that. She works great. I mean, listen, Arkanoid's Arkanoid, am I right? All right, good enough. Now here's something different, Cabal. Now this is in port 2. I just happen to put P2 in the name, and it's a cartridge, so it'll load quick. Move this over to port 2, and we'll run it. All right, so here we go. Here's Cabal. Now notice one of the trainer things is actually enabling the mouse. It's kind of crazy. So we'll have to enable it. We're not going to enable anything else. We're just going to go for it. And here we go. Now this is not the version of Cabal that I played. There was another version. This is Oceans, but there was another version of it. I like that one better, but this one had the mouse support. So here we are. The coin-op sensation that throws you deep into enemy territory. A little more than a low-powered. Okay, enough of that. All right, so now you actually have to choose the mouse. This is weird, right? So you're kind of going, what's going on? So you hit 2 to get the mouse, 1 player, sound effects on, start the game. And this one's really twitchy on the surface. I played a little bit of this and I can't get the ball. There we go, see? So you can do this. You got your grenades. Yeah, see, this one's really hard. I need a little more room and I need a better, there we go. Come on, keep moving. But yeah, I mean, it works. Listen. Oh, we got some goodies. Yeah, I mean, it works. So there's actually a remarkably decent number of games that actually play with the mouse. I mean, I was kind of surprised. I didn't think there'd be as many as there were. But that's Cabal. Space Lords, right? This is the more modern game of Warlords that I've shown, both with paddles and spinner controls. And you might understand how great it might be with a mouse, and you would be right. In fact, I think it plays like remarkably well with a mouse. I don't care what my name is. Right, look at this. Yeah, this might actually be just as good or maybe better than the spinner, huh? That's good stuff. And again, it's your standard Warlords, but yeah, I mean, you get a lot of precision with this guy. This one actually plays very well, despite my ball and despite the traction below. Yeah, so this works out really good. Operation Wolf. I know I show a lot of these same games because we're using sort of similar types of abstract controls. But this actually, as I recall, works very well as well. Although, you know, I'd love to have a mouse that rumbles because that would like totally kick butt. All right, so we have Operation Wolf here. It's going to finish up loading. And much like these other games, you can play them with multiple controls. In this case, CBM mouse in port 2. So I am in port 2. But this also supported that GEOS mouse. I'm assuming that's how you pronounced it. So we're going for a mouse in port 2. All right. You can tell this ball doesn't roll well on this surface. It makes me crazy. I'm definitely going to get a different PS2 mouse. Hopefully one that's like optical. I don't remember if you can do that with a PS2 or not, but I think you can. All right, so let's see how we can do here. Oh, yeah. A little more precision, yeah? Yeah, I like it. Better if I had a mouse pad. Note to self, order a mouse pad. That's interesting. Where did that guy go? We wait for a chopper or something. No. Not to be. You get stuck. I was like, oh, here we go. Boom. Works good, right? Yeah. Like I said, different surface, different mouse, probably be a lot better than this guy. But again, you can see the games work fine with it. So a game that would make complete sense would be something like Lemmings. Now, I kind of forgot they even made Lemmings for the Commodore 64, but let's check it out together and see if a mouse works as well as it did on the Amiga here on the Commodore 64. So this game actually has some pretty bad load time. You're lucky I'm cutting most of this out. But yeah, there we go. It looks actually really good, right? For a Commodore 64 version of an Amiga game, yeah. Yeah. So I thought you had a mouse control here at this screen, but apparently you don't. All right, let's see how it goes. All right. Actually, I mean, it's in a little tiny window, but what do you want? So let's choose, oh, you have to use the keys, right? Okay, there we go. And then dig. Dig, you little piglets. Dig, dig, dig. Make the little piglet dig there, piglet dig there. Yeah, and then you can scroll over to one side or the other. So yeah, there's your exit. Yeah, I'm kind of sad that you have to use the keyboard commands to set these, but I'm sure they had their reason. There's probably some weird independent play field here or something. But yeah, I mean, this is probably like one of the ultimate games to play with a mouse on the Commodore 64. So there you go, pretty cool. Superb, I've rescued every lemming. All right, that's enough of the Lemmings. All right, so what did I say I was going to do before GEOS? Ah, yes, Marble Madness. Okay. Marble Madness does not support the mouse. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what? Real? Oh, come on. How can Marble Madness, a game that literally has the word marble in it, that played with a trackball in the arcade, how can that not have mouse support? But it does not. Does that mean you cannot play it with the mouse? Ah, very, very sneaky. So there's one interesting thing about the Commodore mouse, and some of you probably know all about it. Some of you probably don't. The Commodore mouse, the CBM 1351, actually had a very special trait. If you plugged it in with the right mouse button held down, it becomes a joystick emulator. Oh, you know where I'm going with this, right? So let's unplug it. Hold down the mouse button. Of course, I can't see now. Hold down the mouse button, plug it in. Now it's a joystick. What? Okay, come on, let's see how this works. Now, yes, yeah, now it actually kind of works as you would expect it to. Again, this isn't a super high resolution mouse, but you get the idea. Yeah, it actually works. So you're probably saying to yourself, Shane, does it only work on Marble Madness? Oh, hell no. This actually works with any joysticks, or I'm sorry, with any game that should use a mouse that does not and uses a joystick. I totally suck at this. I'm just not used to it. There we go. You can use any game that uses a joystick. So even though your game does not directly support the mouse, you can 100% use the mouse in many situations by using it simply as a joystick replacement. Again, hold down the right button, plug it into your juice, and you are good to go. All right, so a lot of you have been hanging out this whole time because you want to see GEOS. And so I promised you that I would show you GEOS at some point. Now, I'm going to give you a disclaimer here. GEOS and I were not friends. We weren't brothers. I didn't spend a lot of time in GEOS. I'm going to give you a very bare bones look. But what I am going to do is I'm going to turn on the basically super CPU. So I'm going to turbo the hell out of this thing. And we're going to use a mouse, right? So we got 1581 drives here. I am going to use GEOS as my config file. That's going to turn on my REU. It's going to enable my turbo, and it's going to, well, it doesn't give me mouse control. That's in GEOS, but you get the idea. I'm going to boot. Now, GEOS comes in a million different flavors, and there's a million different distros of it. This is the one that I chose because it seems to be the fastest, most reliable, and it makes use of all this good stuff, right? Expanded memory, and it works well with turbo. If you turn on super CPU on here, it will die. You can try all you want, but if you turn on super CPU emulation, which this actually has a module for, it will crash and die. I don't know if that's GEOS across the board or if it's just this build of GEOS. But that's true. But you still get the benefit of the speed, right? You're just not getting the optimized super CPU look. There we go. It chooses a random background every time. And it's showing you each of the modules that it's loading. And I think it goes in port 1, but we're going to find out. So now it's loading Geodesk. You can hear the drive. I don't know if you can hear it on the mic or not, but it's pretty much hauling butt. See, all of this loading time and all that just wasn't worth it for me. Again, not a GEOS guy, but I know a lot of you are all excited about this. So here we are. We are in GEOS. So, and of course, there we go. So now I know it's kind of hard to see. This color blends in pretty well, but here you go. We have a full mouse control. We have my computer, right? Pretty cool. GeoPublish, we can run that. It catches that sometimes. My hand shakes or something. So now we can load up GeoPublisher, and let's see what we can do here. It's actually pretty quick. I mean, if you've ever like loaded this longhand, then you would understand. I don't remember if I have a document already here that we could load. You could always just make a new one. Ah, MW test, perfect. I wish you could double click, that's so goofy. All right, and you can see it's moving right along. Of course, you can't really see. So we have to do some zooming. And of course, if you know the keyboard shortcuts, that makes it easier. My cat wants to photobomb. Did you see my cat? Meow. Off you go. All right, there you go. Oop, what happened? Dang it, what did I just mess up? Dang it. All right, we can put more text down. My cat is cool. There you go. So yeah, we, it's just like a right scroll, I forget. No, hang on. There was a scrolling mode. My cat really wants to be in the video. And again, if you try to use super CPU options on the 64 Ultimate, this will crash on boot. However, if you do have turbo turned on, it definitely will help run the system better. So there you go. So let's see, we can open up my computer. The basic stuff. See, I've got some drivers here, and it's showing some other drives. Let's see what comes up here. Ah, so you can set up your drive configuration. So check this out. This is pretty cool. You can set up your mouse driver, your screen modes, all that good stuff. So I think you go here and choose, in this case, it's a 1581. Right. Over here, you have like system and drivers. I didn't get the hard drive stuff set up. Different things to set up during your boot, all that good stuff. So all that's fun. So I'm gonna hit save. Chewing along. And let's see, what else can we do in here? I forget. Menu interface. Ah, see, here's the super CPU. It says it's not enabled, but, and it says like if you turn it on, you'll be able to get it during boot. It blows up on this one, folks. So there you go, fast memory transfer, right? So all the good stuff, everything that you want, it's in here. So we'll exit out. Ah, now I have a B drive. Apps, that's what we're looking for. GeoWrite, GeoCalc, GeoChart, GeoFile. Let's do GeoWrite, because I know how to use a word processor. Did I actually get that clicked? I don't think I did. Perhaps there's a problem here. I thought I did all these once. All right, let's do this. Let's go down here. Applications, right? There we go. Let's see. Can I just do this? There she is. Again, I have no clue what the hell I'm doing here, folks. I think we're gonna have to create a new one. Monroe World. And by the way, if you've ever used this on an unexpanded Commodore 64, you know this thing is hauling butt and taking names. It's actually very impressive. The quick brown fox jumped over, oops, jumped, dang it, I'm not used to that key. Over the lazy, was it lazy hound? Lazy dog? Lazy dog, right? Question mark? Yeah. So yeah, look at this though. I mean, you've got your different styles, right? So you can, this is actually pretty cool for a Commodore 64, right? Make it bold, change your font. I don't have any fonts loaded. Different types of paging options, right? You could do find and replaces. All sorts. I mean, this is cool. I mean, listen, this was peak word processing back in the Commodore 64 days. I prefer to use like Paperback Writer or some other tools, but I know people love this. So it just, it moves right along. So quit. Does look pretty good. I gotta admit. You love GEOS or you don't. I don't. That's okay. You can, and that's okay. But anyway, so you can see it moves along just fine on the C64 Ultimate. You can make use of your REU. You can use turbo. Life is a cabaret. And there you go. That's it. I mean, this little guy and a PS2 mouse, and you are golden. I'll have a link in the description below. Again, I'm not making any money for this. I paid for it. I'm not getting any commissions. There's a handful of different adapters out there, but I know for a fact this one works. So there's something to be said for that. I did find a 3D printed case for a different adapter. Has a little button in here, and it was essentially too long to fit, but I did print it anyway. And then I chopped off like the last 2 lines of it to shorten it up a little bit. And I had to extend the hole. I know, great job, right? I don't have a Dremel or anything. So now that I've chopped it all up, it actually fits. Of course, the little capacitor has to stick off the top, but listen, what do you want? I can't design these things myself, and this actually does the job of keeping the electronics protected, and it kind of matches the Commodore 64, so that's pretty cool. Listen, if you like what we're doing here, like, subscribe, hit the bell. You guys know what to do. More Commodore 64 videos are coming. I keep getting told, Shane, when are you going to play games? I mean, you've done everything but basically play games on here, and I've got a huge gaming segment coming up, so you'll want to definitely make sure you're subscribed. Of course, like the video, hype the video if you happen to have that feature. It helps out the channel. And I think that's going to do it for this one. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Shane R. Monroe. Take care, and we'll see you next time.